All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages. This one I'm really excited to share. This was a really big breakthrough for me this past week or so. And yes, I'm excited to share it. This is how to be a truly powerful husband and father. Man, I feel like I've been searching for this idea for a long time and feel like it connected in a way this week that made a lot of sense. So excited to share it. My name is Mike Fraser, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. So some wins from guys in my Strong Men, Strong Marriages program. Guys are going on walks with their wives, enjoying that time together, looking at the sunset, just enjoying those moments, sitting on the couch, having talks with their wives, just enjoying that good conversation. Guys are catching old problematic behaviors before they happen. Part of that we're going to talk about today. A lot of times we'll kind of like snap at our kids or our wife maybe, tell them to stop doing something, be really upset. Problem is that's kind of cause problems with the relationship. Doesn't really create the relationship that we want. Guys are having fun with their kids, playing, laughing, enjoying things. I've been able to do that this past week. It's been fun. These good conversations with their wives. One really cool win, a guy was talking about some financial stuff with his wife. His wife got pretty heated, but he didn't. He stayed calm. He stayed cool. He stayed collected. He, dodged the punches, let his wife kind of wear herself out, and then she came and apologized later. Instead of him firing back, everybody getting upset, kind of destroying the relationship, he stayed calm. She repaired after, and then they're stronger for it. Awesome. That's what we like to see. And again, for me, man, just figuring out what real power is, super exciting. So, doing this inner child work, been super helpful, super powerful. And so my therapist had challenged me this week, hey, like, have that protector you, because I kind of had that one me that was kind of like young and innocent and, kind of got hurt easy. And then I had this protector me that kind of stood up for him and backed people off of him and that kind of thing. So, but again, the challenge was, hey, like, ask that younger you, what's his story, like, what's going on with him. And so I went for a run, and really pretty place, got up to, it was around sunset, just like really beautiful situation in nature. Stopped on the top of a hill, had like an American flag right there next to me, so just a cool spot. Sat and asked, okay, Lan, like, what's your story? And was able to hear from him that he just felt alone. He felt really alone and overwhelmed, and that was his story. He was protecting, but he felt very lonely doing it, and it kind of broke down. And I was able to give that younger me a hug and just be like, hey man, you're not alone now. Really cool moment. Kind of saw those younger me's almost like pop out of me, grow up, really cool. But then what I also noticed was something else. So, but again, this younger me, like, he was assigned things he shouldn't have to do. Okay. But yeah, so I saw them pop out, and then kind of between them, I saw something else. And it was just this dark red energy kind of in the middle of them. And like, I knew this wasn't a good force. I knew this wasn't a good energy, right? It was evil. It was darkness. It was a destructive, destroying force. And what I was able to see was the protector me had actually borrowed from that power quite a bit, kind of throughout his life, to try to keep younger me safe, keep us safe, right? It was this destroying power. And look, it is powerful in a way. It is strong. Like, it does get things done. It does scare people. The drawback is when you borrow from that force, it kind of scares the people around you. Okay, it scares your wife, it scares your kids. They back away, and it kind of destroys the relationship. Okay, so they feel unsafe, they don't feel as comfortable, and now I feel even more alone. So that damage kind of keeps happening, and then I have to borrow from that force again because I feel lonely. I borrow from the force again. I'm mad. I feel lonely. I'm mad. I feel lonely. Right? And look, man, that's when if we're talking about from a biblical perspective, that's Satan's game. Try to isolate, try to make people feel alone, try to make them feel like they don't belong. And so that anger, it feels powerful, but then you're left feeling lonely, and then you got to borrow from it more. And it's just this trap that's no good. And man, I've been in it for most of my life, kind of thinking that was power. But in this moment, right, I was also really hesitant. I didn't really want to let go of that power because I felt like the option was to have zero power and just get run over. So Like even at home when cause I kind of felt like, okay, well, I can't get mad anymore. But really the way I'm seeing that now is like, okay, I can't borrow that destructive power anymore. I can't access that. I can't let it come into me and start kind of scaring people into compliance anymore. So now what do? I felt totally like powerless. Like I was at the dinner table, kids were getting mad at each other. I didn't say anything because I felt like I couldn't get mad. And that was even worse, right? Because I felt like I had no control over my home or my life. And it was terrible. And so I would go back to the destructive power. I'd do nothing for a while and then I'd be like, I can't do this anymore, and just go to that destructive power. You guys need to calm down, get away, that angry, like you better freaking behave or else something bad's going to happen to you, right? That energy. So what I realized was, man, like if I'm going to let that power go, I need something that's even more powerful. To me, power is really important. Maybe that's my personality. Maybe that's a male thing. I don't know. But it's very important for me to be a powerful person, okay? And to have access to power in my life, right? So if I was going to let go of this destructive power, I couldn't let it go to nothing. And I feel like that's what a lot of us think is like, man, if I let go of that, I'm just going to be this wimp that gets run over all the time. That's not strong. And then, people be like, well, Jesus gave himself up and that was stronger. And sometimes you have to give yourself up. But in the back of my mind, I'm always like, that's stupid. Like, that's not really powerful. That's just kind of dumb, letting yourself get injured and killed. And even like, this is the way I used to look at it. People would be like, well, look, Jesus, he gave himself up. He was powerful. But I was like, yeah, but someone killed him. Like people killed him. That doesn't seem that powerful. That was my mindset, right? But man, this was like such a good revelation for me that there is a more powerful force out there than the destructive force. That force, that power, it's a transformational power. So that's the phrase that really hit me this week, man. Just transformational power. That is way more powerful than destructive power. Way more powerful, right? So like, let's give some examples. So if you got a garden that you're growing, okay, is it more powerful to burn that garden down, which is powerful? Sure, you burnt it down, nothing's there anymore. Or is it actually more powerful to be able to say, like this tree or this garden, it's not really operating how I want it to. How can I turn it into what I want it to actually be? Let's say it's growing, a bunch of weeds and not very many trees that you want, right? You could burn the whole thing down, start over, or not start over. So that's the other thing. Destructive power does not start over. It just ends stuff. You're done, right? It's done. It's over. Destroyed, right? So is it more powerful to burn that garden down or to say, hey, like, how do I transform this garden into what I want? Let's get out and pull some weeds. Let's prune this tree. Let's kind of get in. Now, the cool thing is with transformational power, destructive power is there a little bit, right? Because you pull the weeds, you're kind of destroying those weeds. You prune a tree, you're kind of destroying that branch for a little bit. And it's in the service of turning it into something great, turning it into what you want. So it's way more powerful. It just is. It's way more powerful than a destructive force. Okay? Or like if you're looking at a house, is it more powerful to knock that house over, destroy it completely, or to remodel it into exactly what you want? Okay? You might say, yeah, Mike, but like maybe you have to destroy it to rebuild it. That's totally possible. But what I'm trying to tell you is when you just access that destructive force that's not in the service of transforming it into something good, it's not as powerful. It's weak actually compared to a transformational force. So probably the most important one for you to be thinking about in terms of marriage and family, is it more powerful to end a relationship or to turn it into something that you want, a loving, connected relationship? Okay, it's way more powerful to turn it into what you want. Does it take more work? Yeah. But that's why you need more power to do it, right? You need God's power. You need transformational power. You don't need destructive power. To end a relationship, all you need is destructive power, destructive energy. Oh, you don't respect me? You're out, right? You don't love me. You don't appreciate everything you do. You're out. Screw you, right? That's black and white destructive energy. Sometimes it can scare people into doing what you want, but it does not create the loving, connected relationship that you actually want, So on the other hand, a transformational power, yeah, like maybe you do need to draw some boundaries. Maybe you do need to say, hey, like if you're going to come yell at me, that's not going to work. I need to prune that. I need to pull that weed out. That's not going to happen anymore. And that's in the service of, okay, that can't be there to have the loving relationship that we want. And on my side too, there's stuff I have to weed. There's stuff I have to prune so that I can create the relationship that I want. There's this wall I need to knock down in my house so that I have that open connection that I actually want. Okay? So that's where you want to be. Transformational energy. It respects you, it respects her, it creates what you want. Destructive power, it's black and white. It's just you're in or you're out, you're done. Okay? It is powerful. I'm not saying it's not powerful. It is powerful. And what it leaves you with is wreckage. Okay? And then you're going to have to access transformational power later if you want to rebuild anything anyway. So why not just start with transformational power, right? And look, sometimes you are going to go into that destructive power, and then transformational on accident, or it's your habit, right, or whatever. Transformational power will then let you come back and repair. Okay, that's the beauty. That's what God can do. He can repair anything. Okay, and we'll get to this, but really, like that's the. Well, I'll just do it right now. The message. Because I was saying like, well, Jesus got killed. He wasn't that powerful, right? But what actually happened? What actually happened? Jesus got killed, and then he was like, okay, you did your worst. Now look what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back more powerful than ever. I'm going to be resurrected into more powerful than I've ever been. So did you really win, Satan? Not really, because I turned your worst into more power for me. And that's the thing, right? Transformational is way more powerful than destructive power. I feel like I'm just getting this. I'm really excited to share it and start using it. So what does this look like in real life? Okay, so like for me, Elizabeth, in our session this week, asked for some more time apart. At first, I felt that destroyer energy coming in. What are you talking about? We should be together. Get in or get out, right? You either need to be with me or not. Be a team with me or not, right? So that's destructive energy. It's very black and white. It's angry, right? It does not leave place for creativity, opportunity, pruning out what you don't want, putting in what you do want, right? It doesn't leave any of that. It just leaves burn it down or don't, right? And that's it. Okay. It's powerful, but it leaves destruction. Okay. It's not actually the power that you want. So transformational energy. Transformational energy asks like, okay, that's what you want. How can we use this time to build the relationship that we both actually want? How can we transform this time apart into a time that actually builds us? Because like if we look at, our bodies, okay, we can push our bodies super hard in a workout, but if we never rest and take a break, we'll actually just break ourselves down. We become destructive. Again, transformational works in the body a lot too. Okay, you do need a little bit of breakdown. You do need a little bit of exercise that breaks you down a little bit. And then it gets transformed into something better, right? Grows into something better. That's transformational energy. So with a relationship, okay, yeah, that time apart, or like, yeah, a plant I think is even better for relationships because it's more like that living thing that you can see. So yeah, okay, we need some time apart. That's kind of like, okay, we don't need to overwater or it's going to choke the, kill the plant or over fertilize. Sometimes you just have to leave it alone for a little bit. And then it gets the water and, all that. Or if two plants are too close to each other, they can be too close, right? Their roots tangle up, they compete for the same resources and they both die, right? So a little bit of space, now you're both thriving and you're still connected. You're apart and you're together, okay? So instead of, if I was like, hey, I want some more time apart, okay. Instead of, oh, screw you, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back, right? That's destroyer energy. That's what I used to get into a lot. Instead, it's like, okay, that's what you want, not maybe what I would want. And how can we use this time to make it into something great? Is it going to be painful? Yeah. Can I use that pain to transform me and my marriage into something better? Sure. With God's help, sure, I can do that, right? Or I could go destructive and be like, no, screw that, right? I'm done. She did this to me. Look, she forgets everything I did for her. Destructive energy. Okay, transformational energy. That hurts, man. And how can I turn that into something good? So it's like the Bible says, Genesis 50:20, what you intended for evil, God meant for good. Okay, this is Joseph in Egypt where, his brothers sold him into slavery. That was an evil thing. That was a destructive thing. But God said, let me see what I can turn that into. Turn it into something great. Joseph becomes the, second to the emperor, saves his family, all of that, right? So that's transformational energy versus destructive. God can take Satan's destructive energy, turn it into something good. That's real power, guys. That's where we want to be, transformational. So yeah, how can we turn it into something good? So the other thing too is then you become open. Then you become creative. You don't get run over. You're open and creative and powerful. Okay, it's more powerful actually to be open and creative. Okay, this isn't quite what I was expecting, but how can we turn this into what I want, right? How can I transform this into what I actually want? That's real power, guys. That's what we want. Okay, so what happened for me when I went into that open spot was kind of like, okay, this isn't what I was hoping for as we're approaching 20 years of being married. And how could I look at this different? And when I opened my mind to that and let God kind of work, it was like, hey, why don't you look at this as a way to just kind of start fresh? Like you said, you want the next 20 years to be way better than the first 20. Great. Kind of reset this like you're dating. So looked at it that way. When I approached it like that, felt way more at peace. Was able to joke around with Elizabeth, just be more attractive, right? When you're mad, you're not that attractive. When you're destructive energy, you are not attractive. You're pushing everybody away, and then you're mad you pushed them away. That's what I did, guys, for the last 20 years, really. It happened a ton. And man, I feel I'm not going to try to beat myself about it, right? I want to see this as transformational, right? Okay, you used destructive energy for a long time. Took you a while to figure that out. And now you get to use that learning, transform it into something good. So let's do it. All right. So yeah, even like had some good kind of intimate connection while she's out of town this weekend, which would not have, I promise it would not have happened if I was in that destructive energy. I promise it wouldn't have. Maybe she'd feel a little bit bad and reach out every now and then and be like, oh, are you okay? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine, passive aggressive, which is not attractive, guys. I've done it. I can tell you it's not attractive. But instead, I was in transformational energy. So it's like, hey, you having a fun time? Awesome. Things are going good here. Kind of acting like we're dating. Hey, thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. Whatever, right? Quick message. Hey, have fun at the concert with the kids. Totally different energy. Totally transformational. And look, already, right? It's becoming the type of relationship I want. Already. Okay, one day. Well, not one day. Let's say Wednesday. So today's Saturday. I'm recording this. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 4 days. Okay. Almost total turnaround as far as the connection goes. Amazing, right? Transformational force, I promise, guys, is way more powerful. Promise, okay? Here's another example. My son doesn't talk to me all that much, right? So the destroyer me, so I'll come in and say, hey, good night, how's your day? Fine, fine. One word answers, right? All that. Destructive energy is like, oh my gosh, this kid needs to get the heck out of this house or he needs to be grateful, and that's it, okay? Destructive energy, black or white, angry. So that's how I'm kind of picking it up for myself. If I'm in black and white thinking, I'm in destructive energy. If I'm angry, I'm in destructive energy, okay? That's just it, okay? Transformational energy, okay? So it's a reality. He's giving me one-word answers. How can I help turn this into a close relationship? Or what do I need to do to turn this into a close relationship? So I'm open, I'm creative, okay? And yeah, maybe still giving one-word answers for a while. The other thing that comes, so like when you're open, right? You're open to God's inspiration and revelation. How do we transform this? He can help guide you in that. But when you're in black and white, get in or get out, like the other person has to change, I'm mad, okay? You're not open to anything. You're not open to God's ideas. You're basically, Satan's in charge now. He's trying to destroy everything around you, so you're sad. That's what he's trying to do. That's destructive energy. Transformational energy, okay, you're open to God. He's going to help you be creative. God's a creator, okay? Relationships are creative, okay? Something that works for one relationship probably won't work for another. So for me, it's kind of like, hey, for right now, look, he's 18, he's trying to be independent. This is kind of a normal stage of development for boys with their dads. They want to kind of be separate. Okay, what's my best way to help transform this? And maybe this is going to be a longer term one, right? That's what God's helping me see too. Hey man, you're going to have to plant some seeds and water for a while for this one to kind of grow into what you want. So cool. Be patient, still come in, still say hi, good night, check in, how you doing? Invite connection. Just be consistent in inviting. That's what God's telling me right now. So I'm just going to be chill and enjoy that, okay? Enjoy reaching out. And, if he doesn't decide to connect, that's fine, right? That's the season we're in. That's where it is, okay? I can control my side of it. He can control his side. If he doesn't want to connect, am I sad? Yeah, I'm sad. And that doesn't mean I have to go destructive, because if I go destructive, that ensures we're not going to create a good relationship, okay? So here's why transformational energy is so awesome. It honors the situation where it is. It's not just like positive thinking. It's not like this broken down house, like, oh, this is actually a mansion. If you look at it through this angle, like, or it's not like, well, I guess it could be worse, right? My kid could say 0 words instead of 1 word. I guess it could be worse. No, it's like, it just honors, this isn't where I want it. Okay. This house is broken down. Okay. So it also honors both you and the other person. It's like, okay, like, how do we both transform this? What kind of relationship do we want? Do we want a strong, loving relationship? Hard part, sometimes maybe it is. Maybe you're in a relationship where the transformation is going to be separation or divorce. That's super hard. And you can still transform your life with transformational power. But yeah, like if one person really does not want anything to do with you and you do want a relationship with them, you know, how do you transform that? Okay, maybe you can. But most of the time you can, right? When you're married, you were attracted to each other at some point. So you got a lot going for you. This is someone that agreed to spend the rest of their life with you at some point. And so really it's more about you reaccessing or accessing this transformational energy, okay? And this good energy between the two of you. So yeah, it's kind of, how do I make this good for both of us? How do I honor my wife? How do I honor me? Money, sex, in-laws, parenting, finances, creative. You got to be open, creative for this kind of thing. It also includes a destructive process when necessary. So like the other night, my two youngest were fighting each other and they were saying some pretty rude things. And so destructive, yeah, transformational energy sometimes has to stop stuff. Okay, it has to pull weeds, it has to prune. And so, yeah, I had to kind of get a little bit firm in my tone, okay, and kind of chop something off, right, or pull a weed out. Be like, hey, you guys need to stop that right now. Okay, do not talk to your brother that way. Strong and firm, but not like, don't you dare freaking talk to your brother that way. Get out of here. You know, I can't believe you're doing that. That's destructive energy. Okay, that's where I would go sometimes. But firm energy, transformational energy, hey, you cannot do that. Do not do that. We don't do that in this house. We want this house to be a safe place. Still strong, still firm, right? But transformational. And then, you know, maybe in that moment, kids freaking out and mad. That's what happened. And then it's like, so I went to go to talk to him. Hey, you know, we all need to be kind to each other. We were being mean to me. Okay. You know, if you're not in the mood to talk right now, come back when you're ready to talk. And then he keeps kind of yapping, keeps saying rude stuff to me, but I just walk away. Okay. Because he's not in a moment where this is going to be a transformational interaction. And that's fine, right? Sometimes it's not the time. Okay. Again, this is just a really good example of what transformational energy looks like. So I walk away, you know, he calms down, he comes back later, and we just chat for a minute. Hey, like, when we do something like that, we just need to take ownership. Okay, we don't need to blame the other person. We need to just say we did something that's a problem. So go ahead and say sorry. Sorry. Okay, great. We're done. Yeah, let's read a book. I love you. You're awesome. I'm so glad you're my son. That's transformational, right? Because I didn't burn down the relationship. It's like, how dare you do that? You're a bad person. It's like, hey, no, like, we don't do that. We want this house to be a place that operates this way. When we act this way, it gets in the way. That's a weed that needs to be pulled out. Okay. It's transformational, right? Versus destructive. Okay. So again, like, sometimes you do have to set boundaries. You do have to say that's not okay, but it's always in the service of creating something good, not just burning something down. Okay. All right, guys. So in summary, there are two main powers out there for you available as a husband and father. There's a destructive power and there's a transformational power. Okay. So destructive power, it is more powerful than doing nothing. 100% it is. Okay. So you can feel like that's your only option. I felt that way for a long time. But there is a more powerful force, and that is the transformational force. Okay. Again, like, to me, this is the message of Jesus. It's like, hey, destructive force, come get me. Oh, I got you. I killed you. Hey, 3 days later, I'm back. I'm more powerful than ever. Okay. Transformational force is way more powerful than destructive force. It just is. So notice when you go to that destructive force. So one way to tell is if you're feeling really angry. Okay. Now, there's a difference, right? And this is where emotional intelligence comes in. Okay, how I'm feeling in my body, is that more this severe anger that's destructive? Or is this a firmness of just being like, okay, like, this needs to stop? Or is like, freaking stop that right now, right? There's a difference. They both, and you might say, Mike, they do the same thing, but they don't. They don't do the same thing, because one, its intent is to destroy. One, its intent is to transform. Okay, they're not the same. And what gets picked up is the intentions, right? So notice when you do go destructive and see if you can shift into transformational. So instead of asking, how do I stop this behavior? Ask yourself, how do I turn this into the relationship that I want? How do I help my kids have a loving relationship? Not just how do I stop them from fighting, how do I help them have a loving, connected relationship? Okay. Does that include stopping fighting? Yeah. Does it also include teaching how to connect with each other and apologize and make things right? Yeah. So that's the difference, right? Destructive force just says, just make them stop fighting by any means necessary, right? Transformational force says, yeah, fighting can't be part of it. And how do we repair after? Because sometimes we are going to fight, right? So how do we repair after? So really, that shift really is, it's a shift from evil energy to good energy, a shift from satanic energy into God energy, okay? So guys, if you want to learn how to be the most powerful husband and father on earth that you can be, come join us in Strong Men, Strong Marriages. We can do it. So visit strongmen.io, come join the email list. And if you guys joined this past week from Babylon Bee, which is cool, I put an ad there. Funny read if you haven't heard of them, Babylon Bee. But yeah, strongmen.io. Come join us. And yeah, sign up for the email list. If you're a guy that's in a position to invest 5 figures into really transforming your marriage, accessing this transformational force, doing really intensive work with me and my other coach, Coach Mimi, fill out an application. Let's talk, see if that's a good fit for you. So looking forward to connect with you guys, and stay strong in God, and we will see you next episode.